to make a few housekeeping announcements. This meeting is being held in person following all COVID regulations and is live streamed on Southwark Council's YouTube channel. Before we commit to our agenda this evening, I would like to invite members of the subcommittee and all those present to rise and observe a minute's silence in memory of Her late Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. Thank you, colleagues. Firstly, there are no planned fire alarm tests today. If you do hear the fire alarm, leave by the nearest fire exit and make your way to the agreed assembly point, which is at St John's Churchyard off Druid Street, and council security staff will be available to direct you. The public toilets are located by the main reception area from whence you came. And this is, as I remind you, a no smoking building, so please ensure you do not smoke on the premises. Please can you switch off your mobile phones or put the phone to silent whilst the meeting is in progress in the committee room. Members of this subcommittee will not access the internet, send or receive emails, text messages or tweets concerning the business of the subcommittee. I would like to remind you to use your microphone when speaking, as only the audio from the microphones is captured on the live stream, and not to place mobile phones next to the microphones to avoid interference. The code for accessing Southwark Council's free Wi-Fi is uppercase F, lowercase r, 33, uppercase W, lowercase I, exclamation mark. I would ask you to please be considerate towards other people in the room and take care not to disturb the proceedings. I've got one apologies for absence, and that's Councillor Emily Hickson, and I welcome Councillor Charlie Smith in her place. So thank you and welcome, Charlie.
It is my pleasure.
Thank you. Are there any other apologies? No. Thank you. Can we have confirmation of voting members, please? If you could kindly raise your hands. Does any, in terms of disclosure of members' interest and dispensation, does any member wish to declare any interest or dispensation in respect of any item or issue to be considered at this meeting? Thank you. It's okay. Documents circulated are the agenda pack and the report. Can we approve the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 14th of June 2022 for those who are present?
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. The next item on the agenda is the determination, or items on the agenda is the determination of development management planning applications. Before we proceed to the business, I would like to outline the guidance on the conduct of business. We will hear from the officer who will present the report, outline the recommendations and answer questions or clarify any issues raised by members of the subcommittee. All representatives have 3 minutes, by which members of the committee can then raise questions. Finally, the decisions that we make today, we are not politically whipped. Decisions that we make today are in accordance with the Council's planning policy and based on information contained in the relevant reports and addendum report. Application 7.1 The applicant has, this is 9 Hurley Crescent, Southwark, London, SE 16 6AL. The applicant has withdrawn the item in its current form. Application 7.2. There has been a decision to defer the planning application pending a site visit. So we move on to application 7.3, Glengo Wharf Garden, 64 Glengo Road, and may I invite the officer to present. Thank you.
Good evening all. My name is Mamsa Sheikh. I'm the case officer for item 7.3 on the planning agenda relating to Glengo Wharf Garden, 64 Glengo Wharf Road. This application is reported to Planning Committee, Subcommittee B, is because the application is located within Burgess Park, which is metropolitan open land. Following our briefing last Friday with the councillors, the chair requested me to add a section on planning policy, which is now added in the pack and is on the last page. Sorry about the numbering, it hasn't got a number on it. So this lists the National Planning Policy Framework, NPPF, in paragraph 1.7, states that inappropriate development in the greenbelt is harmful and should not be approved except in special circumstances. Paragraph 1.48 of the NPPF says very special circumstances will not exist unless the potential harm to greenbelt by reason of inappropriateness or any other harm resulting from the proposal is clearly outweighed by other consideration. Para 1.9 sets out the test for what is appropriate and therefore what would be allowed as the development on greenbelt and metropolitan open land. This also referred to it in policy P57 of our new Southwark Plan 2022. My development, there is a list, A to G, which basically states what is considered to be an appropriate development in metropolitan open land. My proposal, the outbuilding, falls within appropriate development list B, as it relates to provision of appropriate facilities in connection with the existing use of land as outdoor recreation. That is, outbuilding, the proposed outbuilding would be ancillary teaching facility, space or communal facility for existing Glengo Wharf Garden, or is also known as Burgess Park Food Project. So now I will go into some background to Glengo Wharf Garden or Burgess Park Food Project, which is, so if I may refer to this site plan, so this the area outlined in red is the Glengo Wharf Community Garden. It's 0.26 hectare and is run by volunteers and part-time community gardeners. The site was funded in 2012 and it provides a community garden for local residents. At present, there is no indoor structure on the site to provide community teaching space, workshop and sessions for members of the public. This limits the ability to run effectively during winter months and bad weather. Therefore, funding has been raised by the applicant through crowdfunding and match funding by the Mayor of London to deliver the new teaching space. The site is leased for 5 years from London Borough of Southwark. At the site plan, if you look at the denser rectangular space, red is the area where the proposed outbuilding would be located. On aerial view, the site is located between Surrey Canal and Glengo Road, and it's behind number 68 to 76 Glengo Road. As you can see from the aerial photograph, the site is almost 95% green. The site at present has a number of raised food growing beds, huge mounds, a herb garden, a forest garden, ponds, polytunnels, wildlife habitats, and they also keep chickens and bees on site. The site also has a number of structures, and I will show you photographs in a minute for some of those. One covered sheltered area with open side, a shed, a yurt, a composting toilet, a small kitchen cabin, 2 polytunnels for growing food, and a shipping container for storage of tools. This is one of the photographs that kind of shows the side of the open structure with roof on it, and some activity, a bench and chairs, and some gardening tools, plastic gardening tools for young children activity, learning about food growing project. This would be the photograph. If the outbuilding building, this would be the view from proposed outbuilding. There are further photographs here that shows semi-open kind of structure and a cabin. And next to that cabin is likely to be where the proposed outbuilding would be. Consultation was carried out on this application. 55 letters were sent out. 22 comments were received, all supporting the application with no objection. And members of the public have supported this application on the grounds that it would provide improved facility for the benefit of the local community, improved access to education and community activities all year round. Good design and location does not impact park views. Design is environmental friendly and it will improve mental health and well-being of local residents. This is the elevations, proposed elevation of the outbuilding. The outbuilding, in terms of floor area, would be about 15 square meters. It's going to be 20 feet wide, 8 feet deep, and 10 feet high. It would have a sloping roof with 2 solar panels and 1 roof light, and it would have an access ramp at the front, which from proposed 3D view looks like this. So there's a roof light here. Sorry about this. There's a roof light here, 2 solar panels and roof light in the middle, and this is the access at the front. In terms of construction, the building would be timber frame with cedar shingle cladding. It would have 2 large glazed window, salvage glass, and central glazed door. It also has a 1 non-opening glazing window at the side. The solar panel would be the sole source for generating internal light for this outbuilding. And the reason for large glass buildings and glass door is to provide receive maximum light into the outbuilding. The outbuilding would be used as a community room or teaching space for the courses, workshop, and sessions for the members of the public as part of the open and affordable programming. This application is also submitted by the applicant is because of the feedback that they received from the garden volunteers and visitors, which showed that there is a high demand for courses and courses from school and young people. So outbuilding would ensure that all garden volunteers and attendees have a safe and comfortable environment within which to learn. In summary, the principle of the development in metropolitan open land is acceptable. It's not considered to harm openness of metropolitan open land or detract from its character. It would meet the identified need for indoor teaching space for the local community and users of the site. The external finishes are appropriate to the garden context and would soften the appearance of the building over time. Solar panels are proposed to facilitate internal light. The proposed green roof and additional planting around the structure would increase biodiversity. Existing access into the site would be retained and level access for all users would be provided. It is not anticipated to increase the site capacity in terms of staff, volunteers and visitors. The existing servicing and access arrangement would remain unchanged. So overall, the proposed use, character and appropriateness of the building would remain consistent with the inclusion of inclusion of land within metropolitan open land and would preserve and enhance the openness of the site.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
indeed. Before I invite members to present and ask any questions, Councillor Livingstone, can I just invite you to declare your interest that you are indeed a ward
That's
member?
correct. I am a ward member, but I have not been lobbied on this, and I have not got a preconceived opinion on this. So I'm approaching this with an open mind, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Rule.
Yeah, so on page 3, could you show me where the red triangle or rectangle from page 4 is? Because it's just a load of bushes. So on the plan on page 4, it's quite clear where the
So is the image 3 and there's a rectangular shape.
Yeah, we know that one. I'm talking about page 3. Page 3 is just a load of greenness. Where the...
Councillor Rule, we just temper it a little bit. Just watch your tone, please. Thank you.
Yeah, on page 3, could you show me where the rectangle would be for where the shed stroke outbuilding would be, please? And 2, I take it we're not just relying on solar panels, that there's going to be electricity for winter months.
As my understanding is there will be no electricity. The last glazing is proposed to get maximum light into the outbuilding during the daytime, and solar panel would provide internal light because it's 15 square meters and they believe that it would be enough. So there will be no electricity as such.
Okay, so could you show me where the rectangle is on the picture on page 3? I take it should be round here somewhere.
So on page, it would be somewhere here. Can you see the arrow?
No, I can't. Sorry, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis.
It would be somewhere here.
Oh, there. Yeah. Okay, because
Yeah.
if you look at that, it's the... Okay, right, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tester.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering if you could just clarify the sort of materials that the building's going to be made of, because the proposed elevation side, it might just be a bit low quality in the pack, but it looks a little bit like bricks, whereas obviously it sort of looks more like timber in the previous one. I was just wondering if you can clarify that one.
Design and access that was submitted did specify them. So the elevation kind of looks like this. If I can enlarge it, might. Oops, sorry. I think it's coming out a little bit blurred.
What's your point of clarification, Mazar?
I was trying to zoom in
one
on
voice,
the
please.
proposed elevation.
Pardon?
I was trying to zoom into proposed elevation.
It's just as to whether it's bricks or timber, the material.
It's timber.
It's timber, yeah. It's right. It just looks a
It's
little bit like
timber.
bricks on that one.
And it's a cedar cladding.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Timber shingles.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Councillor Livingston.
Thank you. Yeah, no, really just in terms of the impact that it has on the surrounding open space. From my local knowledge as a ward councillor, this site of the gardens is raised above the level of the surrounding park by up to about 2 metres at places. So it's just really to confirm that members of the public probably won't be able to see this building whilst they're in Burgess Park or on the canal path, or if so, they'll have very limited views on it from my understanding, but just to confirm whether that's the officer's view of this.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions? Charlie?
Just very briefly, thanks, Chair. Do you know, I imagine there's running water to the site if it's like a garden. Do you know? Not just a big
Yes.
factor. I imagine it probably
Yes.
is. Yeah, all right, thanks. And I think it's been mentioned about there'd be no heating inside.
As far as I know, no.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Not at this moment.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, all right then, okay.
I believe that I am not aware that there is
Yeah.
any heating, no.
Yeah, because I imagine the solar panels wouldn't be strong enough to generate heating.
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
probably lighting, but that's
because
about
it's
it.
an open
Yeah.
garden.
Yeah,
They will have a kind of shelter
yeah,
from the weather, rain, and
That's
snow
true,
and sort of
yeah.
thing. But because it's so small, and depending on how short the sessions are, and people work in the open space outside, so I believe they didn't think that it was appropriate for them to have it. I don't know. But there is no mention of any heating.
no, fair enough. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Also, just
Sorry.
for can we just have one voice, please? Thank you. Unless you've got a question, then formally raise your hand. So there is an outbuilding, or a couple of outbuildings, one of which was open and was quite clear in terms of its function and use. What is the function of the other outbuilding, existing outbuilding? Do you know?
So you've got a list of,
Yeah, I think one is a kitchen cabin, which is enclosed, the one you saw here. Other than that, I believe that they all kind of open structures. So,
Yeah, there was seemingly an enclosed one, so I was just curious to know.
I think it's here. This
Yes,
one.
to the left,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So a kitchen, I might ask
Yeah.
her. And the other question I just wanted to raise, in the report, paragraph 28, that refers to the SIL, Community Infrastructure Levy, there is a statement around that, but does this qualify or not? Because usually in the report it would actually stipulate whether an application qualifies for SIL, and if so, how much, but that's kind of just...
no, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay, then, because
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, Chair, the reason why it doesn't qualify is because it's less than 100 square meters.
yes,
Yeah, so it doesn't qualify.
but it didn't state whether
Yeah.
it did or not, just
That's right.
for clarification.
Yeah.
So that's
So it doesn't qualify.
righto.
Yeah.
That's clear. All righty. If there are no further questions, we'll move on. Are there any objectors in the room? There's none registered. Thank you. And is the applicant's
My name is Mariama Abdullahi and I'm the chair at Glengo Wharf Garden. Mumtaz has covered pretty effectively what we're trying to do, but just to give a bit more context, the garden has been volunteer operated for the 10 years since it was set up, which is pretty remarkable in my opinion. The activities that we do on site are sort of free access to anyone to attend. They're open, there's no need to register, so people can just turn up on the day, take part for as long as they want. But we've been doing a lot more courses, workshops and sessions. as a response to demand of volunteers that have been coming down, because they found that in other places food growing courses are either very expensive or run for a really long period of time that they're not able to accommodate. So one of the primary reasons for wanting this classroom space was to enable us to accommodate more courses and more people on a year-round basis, because at the moment we're sort of at the whim of the British weather, which is not the best position to be in. It also means that we can plan a bit more effectively, just because we are funded by funding applications at the moment, so being able to apply and know that we can definitely run courses within a period of time is really important to us. And yeah, other than that, it's more that the building is going to be very much in keeping with the biodiversity in the area. I don't know if many of you have been to the site, you're very welcome, but prior to the garden being there, it was sort of a brownfield waste site, so when we took occupation it was cement, and it's now a sort of huge, really thriving space with a large amount of wildlife. We're a permaculture land site, which means that everything we do is working with the ethics already in place in nature, and that we very much plan to continue that with the classroom space. So that's why we've incorporated the green roof, and we're planning to have climbers up the building. We do have piped water, but we also have at the moment about 10,000 litres of rainwater harvesting. That unfortunately didn't get us through this summer's drought, but we're hoping to add maybe 5,000 more litres with this building, and you know, hopefully, depending on how things go, that will cover a lot more of the summer next year. So yeah, I mean, that's the main summary of it. I think we're really passionate, especially with the year that seems to be incoming in terms of cost of living crisis and people just recovering from very difficult 2 years. We're really keen to make sure that the community has as many opportunities as possible to come down to the garden, get involved, and just also be together, sort of working, learning, etc. So yeah, that's what I cover.
That was pretty comprehensive. Thank you very much. Got a member's question from Councillor Rule.
Yeah, could you tell me the logic about not having light? I mean, I can cope with the heating because they could just put jumpers on and cardigans and coats. But even my shed at home's got a light. And at this time of the year, when it gets dark quite early, I mean, are you just planning to do your courses in daylight hours at the weekends? I don't understand why. I don't think there's enough sun for the solar panels, but how comes there's no backup lighting, for example, even if it's just for backup?
No, sorry. I think that was maybe a miscommunication. There is definitely going to be lighting in the classroom space. This building that we have here has one solar panel on it, and it has a one light inside it as well, and a plug socket that we can use for class 2 appliances only, so really low charge items. So yeah, we would definitely have lighting in there so that we can work sort of obviously into the night, especially in the winter months.
Charlie?
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Do you have toilet facilities, washing facilities, first aid, that type of thing?
Yep, so we have actually just behind this sort of covered structure here, you can just about see it, but there's a composting toilet, which was funded by Cleaner, Greener, Safer when we first set up the garden. We won't be adding a second toilet at present, just because the capacity doesn't require it as yet, but if we did, then we would add a second composting toilet. And we have, there's piped water, so there's a hand washing sink just in between the kitchen cabin and the covered area, and there's another one just sort of towards the entrance of the garden. I think, was that it? Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions from members? No, well, thank you very much indeed. I'd like to kindly return to your original seats. Thank you. I don't have any registered supporters listed, but there clearly there isn't anyone else, and we don't have any ward councillors in the audience to present. So, colleagues, any further questions either to the officer or just general comments that you'd like to make regarding this application?
Yes, I think it sounds like a fantastic project and looks like it will be a real asset to you, and you know, certainly the questions around sort of the principle of development seem to have been covered off quite well, so I think it seems really good.
Thank you, Emily. Any further comments from members? Righto. Oh, Sorry, Richard.
Just really to second what Councillor Tester said, and I think I'd certainly agree with that. And as I said, whilst I don't have a preconceived view on this application, I do know that it plays an important role for local community around the Old Kent Road. So as the Wharf Gardens as a whole do have a valuable contribution to make to local community.
Thank you very much indeed. That was really helpful. So, colleagues, in the absence of any further comments, I would like to move to the vote that we agree the officer's recommendation as on paper, and including any amendments highlighted by office, the addendum report and conditions arising from your comments or indeed the debate. Do I have a seconder? I saw Emily, given that you did comment. So all those in favour? That's fully carried. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mariam. And that concludes this evening's business. Thank you, colleagues.